Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore. Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint.
So my nephew Timmy is here. He's watching me produce a show because these things can't happen anymore. Timmy's going to become my producer eventually.
Good deal. That's
Sorry
great.
about that. That music wasn't supposed to run yet. Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. We will be endeavoring the BluePrint Power Hour, where you can post your questions and we will do our best to answer them. Just post them here. We have questions that people send in. We're going to get to those first, but we'll work your live questions in at the same time. So feel free to participate with the show. Of course, I have to thank my title sponsor today, Legendary Foods. I got their shirt on today. EatLegendary.com. Use code SHR10 for 10% off your entire purchase. And you should purchase Legendary products because they're great. If you are a low-carb, high-protein, keto type person and you want to be able to snack and stay on your personal meal plan, Legendary Foods is the place to go. They have the most amazing nut butters in the world. Shannon Yorton Penna, who is a regular guest on the show, we do a segment called Cooking with Shannon because she's brilliant at taking recipes and removing the sugar from them and making them taste fantastic. She is the one behind the nut butters. She also is also behind the seasoned almonds, which are fantastic. And then her husband, Ron, is the genius behind the Tasty Pastry, which is basically a Pop-Tart, but it's been upgraded so that it has less than 1 gram of sugar, 9 grams of high-impact protein, meaning high leucine, and less than 3 to 4 grams of impact carbohydrates. And so you can eat them and feel good about it. They're fantastic. Check them out. Again, the website is eatlegendary.com. Let them know you learned about them here by using the code SHR10 and save 10% off. And now, without further delay, we will run his music.
Calling all BluePrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluePrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great, man. There's beautiful weather up here lately. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's cooling off a little bit finally.
So before the show, and I think I can safe to talk about this, Coach Rob is endeavoring, he may be a hunter before we know it. Coach Rob has focused himself a crossbow, and he's amazed at how the technology in crossbows has progressed. Isn't it amazing? Crossbows,
yeah, you know, from the reading, from all the reading that I've done, and how far they've come with especially some of these compound bows, it's incredible. I mean, the accuracy, the speed, the range. Yeah, I would have never expected it from a bow.
I know. I gave up bow hunting in general as a young man because I wasn't that good at it. I was really good with a rifle or a pistol, but bow hunting takes a certain skill because you must get much closer.
Right, I was going to say.
And that's still true with the crossbow. You know, nobody's taking 100-yard shots with the crossbow, and I've done that plenty of times with rifles. With a crossbow, 20 to 50 yards away is pretty much where you need to be. But yeah, the crossbow technology has just come so far. It's amazing to me. And that's why I bought one. I was like, and Killer Instinct is the company that just happens to be, you and I bought bows from the same manufacturer.
Didn't plan it.
No, I know. Most of these manufacturers that make crossbows today, you got to drop $700 to get a good crossbow. But this company, Killer Instinct, which actually is a subsidy of a much bigger company. I can't think of their name, but it'll come to me before the end of the show. They decided to get into the crossbow business. If you're looking to buy a crossbow, check out Killer Instinct, because for $200 to $400, you can buy an amazing, amazing crossbow that will last you a very, very long time. And if you want to just shoot it at targets, that's great. Or if you want to take it hunting, that's equally great, because these things are moving out over 400 feet per second. Obviously, when you're shooting an arrow at an animal, it's all about placement. It's not like a gun where they just get hit by a truck and they fall down. But these crossbows that this company Killer Instinct is making, I'm flabbergasted how good they are.
Yeah, so I guess they're like Rogue is to Elite Fitness or Westside. They're kind of a subsidiary with slightly cheaper, less expensive stuff. It's not cheap, man. I'm telling you, this thing is rock solid. And I had one question about it, and I called their customer service line. They were fantastic. Boom, right to a person, answer your questions. Is there anything else I can do for you? It's nice to see.
Yeah, they're the subsidiary of a larger company whose name escapes me, but this company has been in the hunting and survival gear category for like 50 or 60 years, and they decided to get into the crossbow business. And so I predict that these crossbows are intelligently priced right now, but once they establish themselves as a strong competitor, these same bows that you and I have bought for a few $100s will probably
go up.
Yeah, $700-800. Yeah, it's like the car. It's like Acura when they first came into town. They were throwing cars away for $15,000. Now you want to buy an Acura and they're $50,000.
Right.
Same business model. How are you doing with your training, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm scheduled to max out on weighted chin-ups this week, the conclusion of a 7-week program. That'll be in a few days. But otherwise, I feel terrific. Whatever little niggling injuries I've had are gone. The arthritis is still there, but we'll talk about how much the things I have done to make it so much better than what it was. It'll never be completely healed because there's no cartilage there. But there has been a major, major improvement.
So Joe Nasrallah said he just messaged Legendary Foods and they're not able to ship to Canada yet. That's sad, but they'll fix that, because you got to remember the same engine that was behind Quest Bar is behind Legendary Foods, so they'll be everywhere. It's just going to take a little time. But thank you for at least messaging them to ask that question.
Right.
We have questions coming in already. One of our big fans, Marcus Mygard, will get to your question, I promise. We're going to start off with the first question, which is from Solomon Drethser. I'm sorry if I'm.
Yeah.
I've got some pretty severe shoulder issues, in particular, a torn labrum, and according to my doctor, some pretty severe arthritis. He recommends surgery, but I'm not keen to get that done. Will glucosamine help me? What about CETUS?
Yeah, well, the good news is that it sounds like he got an accurate diagnosis. And that's important because you need to know what type of injury you're dealing with. So we know, for example, he has a torn labrum. I'm not sure to what extent, didn't say, but at least we know what one of the underlying problem is. Second, we know that there's some arthritis in the picture. Now, the word severe was used, which usually means, as in my case, there's no cartilage left in between. Right. So, however, they'll tell you that there is nothing you can do. That's not true. You do have options. And so let's talk about a few. Now, to date, I am not aware of any supplement or drug that can reliably fix what I call a structural issue, aka a labrum tear. Now, here and there, I'll grant you'll hear about BPC 157 fixing something like this, but the reports are they're spotty, so to speak. It's hard to tell.
And let's address this. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So when you have a tear, if it's in the muscle belly, it will repair itself. It will still cause problems because of the rigidity. But if you have a tear in soft tissue, like a tendon or a ligament, for instance, and there's a notch, a literal notch of flesh missing from it or tissue missing from it, there's no way that any supplement is going to cause the tissue to grow across and fix it and fill it in. At best, what happens is that notch will heal as a notch and will continue to be a weak spot in that muscle complex.
Right. So let me give you an example. And again, being me, the only surgery I've ever had, I too tore my labrum. I tried every trick in the book, right, to fix it myself. But unbeknownst to me, after I finally had an MRI or a CAT scan, one of the two, a tiny piece of the labrum had torn off and was floating around, inside the shoulder capsule. Now, there's no compound, herb, whatever, peptide I can give you that's going to go in there and take care of that. So I would tell you, bite the bullet and have the surgery. It's important to do that if it's that, especially if it's that type of injury. Now, secondly, I can tell you, I do believe glucosamine helps, even in those instances of severe arthritis where you're bone on bone. And so let me tell you the difference that it makes for me. If I'm using enough of the right kind of glucosamine, it is the difference between me not even being able to hold a handstand. My right arm will collapse at the elbow, and doing reps with a weight vest. Okay. The pain, as long as I keep the reps low, and pain and discomfort is what I'd call minimal. Sometimes I don't even think about it. Higher reps is another story, the grinding away. Now, I can also tell you that the best combination that I've found for these types of issues is glucosamine and CSIS. Mm-hmm. I wish I could tell you what CSIS was doing to work so well, but you need only look at the reviews and how long it's been on the market to know that it certainly does work, at least to an extent, for most people. Now, I should caveat things by saying I found a new CSIS that is effective at a mere 2 capsules, 800 milligrams total, that I found for the newsletter that just hit today. Yeah, it was released today. Now, what I can tell you, though, is another good brand out on the market is PrimaForce. Their CSIS quadrangularis. It's effective at 4 to 6 capsules a day, but it'll still do the job. So the extracts are getting better. I was highly skeptical because this 2 capsule a day product, a 6-week supply is selling for less than $20.
That's a great.
So yeah, right. It's a great price. Hopefully the price increase doesn't happen, right? Like we just discussed.
Right.
People get onto it. Otherwise, I would tell you that certain types of collagen, in particular type 2 undenatured collagen, as well as things like hyaluronic acid, I've heard good things from other people that have used that. So in summary, though, here's the bottom line. I would encourage you to experiment with some of those compounds. However, get a finer point on that diagnosis. Understand whether or not it's a problem that can be fixed by surgery or not. And if it's the former, get it done. Bite the bullet, go in. In my case, it was one of the easiest things I had ever done. And I am stronger. I will tell you this. I am stronger now in this right shoulder than I was before surgery. So it's by no means is it hey, you're never going to perform at the same level type of thing. Absolutely not. Not if you get it done right.
Joe Nasrallah is asking about Boswellia. I'd like before we address Boswellia, I'd like to go right to the pinnacle approach to repairing soft tissue, whether it's regrowing cartilage, whether it's repairing a tendon or a ligament, it's growth hormone.
Right, intra-articular, right?
Well, intra-articular or systemically delivered. So let's talk about that. So if you have a knee and you've been told that you're starting to develop arthritis, a good orthopedic surgeon can do intra-articular growth hormone injections and you will regrow. You will regrow. I did shows about this. Dr. Alan Dunn has either passed away or since retired. He had a website that was an acronym for intra-articular growth hormone injections.org. And he was training orthopedic surgeons how to do this. And more are aware of it. Whether or not they'll offer it to you is a different story, because anytime growth hormone comes into the discussion, physicians freak out like, oh, I don't want the DEA. Look, we're asking you to inject it into the knee directly. It stays there. But Dr. Dunn's practice, he worked with NFL, professional football, baseball players. He worked with average people. They flew down to Florida. They went in, and let's say it was a knee. He did a 20 IU injection of growth hormone right into the synovial capsule, and you went away. He did that once a week for 3 weeks, and then you came back in 6 months, and every single time the cartilage was regrowing.
Wow.
Which every orthopedic surgeon in the world will tell you that's impossible. You can't regrow cartilage. It's nonsense. And if you're a critical thinker, all you need to do is look at bodybuilders who abuse growth hormone. Bodybuilders who abuse growth hormone, I'm talking about taking 10 IUs a day for long periods of time. They experience a phenomenon called joint crowding. What this is the cartilage in their knees and fingers and wrists and elbows and everywhere grows to such a great degree and so rapidly that it causes pressure in the joint. The opposite of arthritis. They have too much cartilage in their joint. So,
that sounds just good enough to be effective.
Well, think about it, right? And I talked about this. I have a good friend who's, I'm not going to mention his name because he never authorized me to say this, but this was about 7 years ago. And he said, my doctor said, he's an avid runner. He said, my doctor said, I'm going to need a knee replacement in the left knee and probably the right knee a couple years later. And I talked him into getting prescribed growth hormone and doing 2 IUs a day, 5 days a week. So he didn't do an aggressive protocol. He did the anti-aging protocol. And in 6 months, his knees were better. And even after he stopped using it, he continued to see the benefits. And his doctor said, I don't know what you did, but keep doing it. Now, he couldn't tell his doctor because his doctor wasn't the one who prescribed it for him.
Right.
But growth hormone. So if you have soft tissue problems, growth hormone is the way to go. Now, a lot of people are going to say to me, well, what about secretagogues? I don't think secretagogues work, and here's why. Because secretagogues just cause physiological elevation of growth hormone. That's not protecting you from getting arthritis. It obviously hasn't. Okay? You need exceptional levels for short periods of time, weeks, and maybe even some months, to cause an overproduction of chondrocytes that actually causes regrowth as opposed to just maintenance. So if you are really serious about correcting arthritis, you must find a physician who will prescribe growth hormone for you. You must, and you will not need joint replacement. Now, go get it done. That's a different story because doctors don't want to do it for you. Sometimes you have to go to the dark side, if you know what I mean. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's great information.
Next question is from Myron Gray. He says, I'm setting up a new routine and thinking about training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. I'm 35 years old. I've been training for about 10 years now. I'm interested primarily in getting stronger. I've also heard Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule works well with Wednesday and weekends off. What's the best training frequency? Don't you love questions like this?
Well, but it's a good question because training frequency is probably the most difficult fundamental to solve for that there is, because in a lot of cases it's a moving target. And the honest answer is it depends. Depends on what? It depends on a lot of things. It's a long list. But let's look at an example. So lifter A is 35 years old. He trains hard. His workouts take about an hour. Or no, actually, they only take 30 minutes. He sleeps a lot. He eats a lot. He tends to make smaller jumps when adding weight. He uses, let's say, Synthogen or some other intra-workout for 8 weeks at a time, and then a month off, and then 8 weeks again. Lifter B is 35-2. He occasionally pushes himself, and his workouts typically last 2 to 3 hours. He doesn't sleep real well, but he does eat enough. And when he does jump the weight, it's usually pretty aggressive. Whereas Lifter A was, going up 1 to 5 pounds a time. Lifter B here wants to try to go up 25 or more pounds, every week. And there's only something he does not avail himself to, intra-workout supplementation. Despite their identical age, the optimal training frequency for both of those guys is going to be different. In some cases, drastically so. I would tell you that in the case of Lifter A, he stands a really good chance of training hard and heavy and recognizing increases 4 days a week for long stretches of time. Lifter B isn't going to be able to train productively more than 2, maybe 3 days a week, because most of what he's doing past the 60-minute mark is actually working against him. And the best diet in the world isn't going to overcome the sleep deficit that he's in. And as far as those 25-pound jumps a week go, good luck. Once you're out of the newbie stage or you're using super supplements, even if you're able to pull that off for a couple of weeks, it's not going to last. I mean, think about it. We'd all be lifting 1,000 pounds, right? So you can see how many different things go into it. And that's just scratching the surface. The other problem is it's a moving target, because not everyone's, and I'll just use one variable, not everyone's sleep is always consistent, right? Some people sleep well most of the time, but when there's a lot of stress at work or they're, beefing with their spouse, they're not sleeping very well. And so during those weeks or months or however long it lasts, the training frequency is going to change. The other thing is, even if everything's going swimmingly, you get consistent sleep, food, you're making jumps every single week, your training any fixed training frequency will ultimately fail with time. Why? Because you're lifting heavier weights for more reps. It's logical that the stresses grow on your body. And while your muscles will enlarge, right, to accommodate this type of increase, your internal organs like your kidneys and your liver do not. And they're heavily involved in clearing metabolic waste and other things that are involved in the recovery process. So clearly, it's a very, very difficult puzzle to solve. I would tell you then that the optimal training frequency is the one where you're able to recognize consistent strength increases from workout to workout, whatever that is. If it's 1 day a week, it's 1 day a week. I know guys who train 1 on, 10 off, and they made incredible jumps in strength. I've also known people who can train very frequently and recognize small increases. The final thing I'll say is this, and it's a great exercise to see what I'm talking about. Keep your workouts to 30 minutes. Get as much done in those 30 minutes as you can. And after 2 months, come back and tell me about the progress that you've been able to make. I think you're going to be shocked at not only the quality of your workouts, but also how many times you can train that way productively. Every single person that ever took me up on that and did it came back and said, you know what, you're right. They recover faster, they grow better. So difficult question to answer, but those are some of my thoughts on the matter. It's a lot of trial and error.
There's no need to fit everything into a 7-day week, first of all. I had the same discussion with Dr. Brad Schoenfeld not too long ago when he was on my show. Nobody has done more research into the efficiency in building muscle and strength as Dr. Schoenfeld. And he agreed with me. It's absurd. Your body doesn't know what a Monday is. It doesn't know there's only 7 days in the week. Okay? I made my greatest gains on a 9-day routine. I trained day 1, took 2 and 3 off, trained day 3. Day 4, 5 and 6 off, trained day 7, 8 and 9 off, and came back around again. I made the greatest gains I've ever made with that kind of a routine. So first of all, get your mindset out of this idea that in order to train properly and efficiently, thank you, you have to make it fit into a 7-day week. Lose that. You'll be so much better off. The other thing I want to mention is, and we're going to get to everybody's question, but this one fits appropriately in this discussion. Joe Nasrallah says he's training every day currently with no days off. Perhaps not smart, but he has a bad feeling that the gyms are going to shut down again. And so that's why he's doing this, right? Opportunity. But let me tell you something, Joe. I've made great gains training every day too, but you have to temper and modify. If you hit every body part 5 days a week continuously, but you're just doing 1 or 2 sets, and you accumulate that volume over the course of 5 days, as opposed to going in and beating a body part up in 1 day, you can have great strength gains, great muscle gains, but you have to modify the work. You can't do the same routine that you would do if you were doing a chest body part only, if you're going to hit it 5 days in a row. What do you think about that, Coach?
That is precisely what I'm doing with my chin-ups that I mentioned, the chin-up program that I'm on. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to go in and max out Thursday, but it's already a win. My strength levels, it was either week 3 or week 4, jumped dramatically. And what was I doing? I was doing 2 sets of chins 5 days a week, and then 3 sets of chins 5 days a week, and then a little bit of break, then back to 2, then back to 3. And so, yeah, training frequently like that can be done. But what did I do? I did 2 sets of chin-ups, basically. People think, they might look at you and think you're nuts. That's usually a good sign that you're on to something.
I mean, I'm hitting the gym 3 to 4 days a week right now. I don't have the time. I'm only doing a 30 to 40 minute workout, as you suggest. Yeah. I'm hitting every body part every time I go into the gym, but I'm just doing 2 sets. I'm doing a warm-up set and a set to failure, and then I'm moving on so that I have gas in the tank to go do the next routine, the next thing. And so at the end of the day, my body is getting mad volume, but it's over the course of a week instead of one workout.
Right.
Yeah. Good. All right. So let's go right to let's take a question from the audience. This one comes from Marcus Magard. Hold on a second. Let me just stop the clock. I don't want the show to run away from you. He says, I've been struggling to stay focused and awake during boring lectures. I'm thinking I might be imbalanced between dopamine and GABA. Add a little ADHD runs in my family, so that might have a factor. I'm going to try dosing tyrosine and theanine prior to lectures, but I'm also considering adding taurine to the mix. Do you think the taurine will help?
Probably not as much as the tyrosine and the theanine. It could be just that the subject matter is so damn boring you're falling asleep. That can happen too. But I think that's a solid plan, especially if you're like, you know what, I don't want to use stimulants for this. I do want to be awake and alert. Now, if you're nodding off frequently, not only during lectures, but also, at other times during the day, that could be a medical problem. Right. And so you might also want to invest in the sleep study, which will tell you with some certainty exactly how much quality sleep you're getting. I know, there are also electronic gadgets that'll do this, but the sleep study is obviously a little more involved, and you have a professional to give you their opinion. But your plan, the way you've got it sketched out, I think makes sense. I wouldn't take any less than 3 grams of tyrosine. The theanine, personally, I only use theanine if I'm using a stimulant because it kind of takes the edge off a little bit. I would start with solo tyrosine and then go from there, because that's going to help you assess which amino acid is helping you the most. Taurine, if I'm not mistaken, has some GABA action, which would probably work against staying alert.
I'm going to tell you what not to underestimate. Do not underestimate 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate for brain. Research shows that in the military, soldiers that were required to pull a third shift, an overnight shift, and they gave one group 5 grams of creatine and one group 5 grams of a placebo. And the group that got the creatine did not get tired overnight. They didn't have the nod-offs. They didn't feel sleepy. They remained alert. In fact, that's why you shouldn't take creatine before bed, because it'll impair your sleep. With that being said, creatine improves brain function. It can be thought of in the same way as a nootropic in that way. In fact, that's why I take creatine now, because I'm not training as hard as I used to. I am not leveraging the value of creatine and producing ATP for muscle, but creatine definitely works in waking you up. Also, for those of you who have any sleep problems, which I have had on and off for the past couple of years, research shows that supplementing with creatine requires less sleep needed to recover. Now, think about this for a second. So, if you take creatine, you'll probably end up sleeping less at night. But it's not impaired sleep because recovery is still occurring. You're still going through all the phases of sleep, just not for as long. And it appears in the research, and you can look this research up. I don't have it at my fingertips, but I read it years ago, that it actually reduces the need for sleep. It doesn't impair the length of sleep. Now, what does that mean to someone whose sleep sucks already? If you have bad sleep, taking creatine could cause your bad sleep to have less of a bad effect on you because you're going to recover in the sleep that you're getting. So when it comes to the brain, Marcus, give creatine a try. You may find some fantastic results with it. So,
it's cheap enough, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. And it's safe and everything else. And it will help you with your workouts. We're going to take a break. We have lots more questions. We have lots of live questions. We're going to get to everybody's question, I promise you. In the meantime, check out CoachRobRegish.com. We'll be right back. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety, because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I've found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
Among the easiest and most popular ways to experience the life-altering benefits of hemp, Planet Earth CBD soft gels offer fast-acting effects as they release quickly. Made in a GMP-compliant, US FDA-registered facility, you can count on Planet Earth's safe soft gels. These soft gels provide temporary relief from pain and so much more. Manufactured with the calming combination of chamomile and melatonin, you got yourself a long-needed CBD solution. 25 milligrams of nano-emulsified hemp extract per serving serving with anti-inflammatory agency, Planet Earth sleep supporting soft gels will have you forgetting about today's worries for a better tomorrow. Unwind with Planet Earth CBD today.
Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the healthier alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. Their sugar-free biltong is seasoned and then air-dried for up to 2 weeks, providing you with one of the most tender and flavorful meat snacks that you've ever had. They also use a fattier cut of beef, which adds to the tenderness and gives their biltong even better flavor. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the perfect snack or travel companion for your busy life. Get a free meat snack sample pack with every order of $75 or more. Get yours today at selectsavorysnacks.com/SHR. Use code SHR free.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
My nephew is teaching me how to use TikTok.
Is that the new social media app?
It's not new, but it's amazing. It's like people there's more interaction on TikTok than Instagram, Facebook, or anything. And I mean, we work in the world of the spoken word, and I figured I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it a try. So the next question comes from Herb Adams. He says, what is it in ecdysterone that really lessens delayed onset muscle soreness? Because if I notice one thing from it, it's that I feel like it's an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. I'm going to be totally honest and tell you that after almost 30 years of using it, of researching it, of talking to people that have used it, I don't know. Now, it's an interesting question, though, because more than anything else, it's what tells people it's doing something. I get this feedback. I would say this is the top most frequent piece of feedback that I get. I recover faster. I feel better. I have more energy, stuff like that. To answer the question, I do think we need to look at the constituents of the various actives in Reponticum, which is what, if you're going to use ecdysterone, that's what you should be using, unless you're using an isolated turkesterone from Ajuga turkestanica. It's all about Reponticum. So first and foremost, the ecdysterones that have been identified in the plant are what's usually on the table, right? That's the one the Russians zeroed in on. It looks kind of close to our other favorite 4-carbon molecules. But they all do. The interesting thing about it is, of the dozens and dozens that are in Reponticum, they all do different things. Like, as an example, integrastone A and B are what bring cholesterol down. It's speculated that cyasterone and ponasterone are two that favorably, improve your blood sugar levels. And believe me, you can see it on your blood.
Did you say pornasterone?
Ponasterone.
Okay, because pornasterone sounds really interesting all of a sudden. But okay, I digress.
Right. So the point is, almost all of them have some kind of biological activity. Often overlooked, though, in the same plant are things like tannins and resins and even certain oils that I'm convinced have an effect. For example, we know one of these tannins mitigates your body's ability to store glucose as fat. We also know that overall, the plant has an incredible antioxidant impact, all right? Great antioxidant function. And that isn't just important in the context most people think, right? Because when most people think of oxidation, they think of the old example, you cut the apple in half, it's going to brown. Well, the browning is oxidation. That's what's going on in your body. Reponticum seems to improve that dramatically. It's almost like putting real lemon juice on the apple and then watch how fast, it rusts or turns brown. It's a dramatic difference. So That's one thing that people think might contribute to the effect. The other thing, though, about that antioxidant function is this. Everybody's focused on cholesterol, right? Especially doctors. High cholesterol, even high LDL cholesterol. It's not the high cholesterol that'll kill you. It's oxidized cholesterol. And if anybody doubts that, read the Framingham Heart Study of way back when. I mean, the information's out there why certain doctors, why a lot of doctors don't look into this point further is just beyond me. Anyway, strong antioxidant action is probably where mitigating things like delayed onset muscle soreness starts. Mopping up oxidation fast allows the body to get a jump on other more meaningful biological processes like tissue repair, right? We know from studies that various ecdysterones increase the efficiency also of messenger RNA translation in the ribosome, right? For that process to work optimally, though, right, you need things like essential amino acids. It also helps to have a robust nucleic acid pool and high cellular ATP, all of which are things ecdy does really well. And I'll tell you when you notice this the most. When you go on a fairly extreme cutting diet, levels of ATP in the muscle cells usually correspondingly fall. With ecdysterone, it seems that they either don't or they don't nearly as much. There isn't another product I know of that addresses oxidation, messenger RNA translation, tissue repair, and keeping cellular ATP levels elevated all in one shot like this than ecdysterone. It's the only one I can think of that does all of those and does it really well. Now, it is true you can deal with things like oxidation and elevate ATP levels and attempt, greater tissue repair with other compounds. Thus far, however, increasing messenger RNA translation efficiency, that seems exclusive to ecdy. So yeah, you can take antioxidants, you can take creatine, you can take essential amino acids, et cetera, et cetera. You end up taking a lot of stuff that has duplicate functions. I would tell you then that elevating those big four processes is probably what's contributing to the reduction in delayed onset muscle soreness and corresponding improvement in recovery. It is not a simple reduction in pain or inflammation. Okay, that's a one-trick pony. You can take painkillers for that, or ibuprofen, etc. Because it's secondary, that function, it's secondary to real accelerated tissue repair, which is what ecdy gets you. Something that is far, far superior to simple pain or inflammation reduction. That's my take on things. I guess time will tell whether or not I'm right.
So here's something interesting that while you were talking about this, I took a chance. So I looked on the National Institutes of Health for any research that points to delayed onset muscle soreness and the presence of myoglobin. I love when people talk about eating a bloody red steak. It's not blood, that's myoglobin. Myoglobin is the fluid that's inside muscle cells. And when you develop rhabdo, it's actually from the accumulation of myoglobin being trapped in the kidneys, not creatinine, not creatine, or any of that other stuff. Myoglobin is very misunderstood. And I thought, I wonder if there's a relationship between myoglobin and delayed onset muscle soreness. And I did, in fact, find a study that looked at it, but that wasn't what they attributed the delayed onset muscle soreness to. They attributed delayed onset muscle soreness to the accumulation of neutrophils, which are basically white blood cells.
Yep.
Wait a second. I just had an abstract thought, probably really way off on this, right? So what if the damage from training elicits an infection? So if you have elevated white blood cells, it's because your body's fighting an infection. Part of the role of white blood cells is to suppress infection. So white blood cells are part of the immune system response.
Mhm.
What if the body sees this damage because it's new to it as something that could lead to infection, and it deploys white blood cells days after? Because that's what they said. The study that I just looked at, eccentric exercise induced delayed onset muscle soreness and changes in markers of muscle damage and inflammation. And they're the ones that, after the long study, show that there's a positive correlation between the mobilization of circulating neutrophils into the muscle several hours and days after the eccentric exercise. So this would say that the neutrophil migration activity starts at 4 hours after training and continues for 48 hours. And this is why you feel it days after. But what if the body thinks that that damage is an infection? Now, what does this mean? I don't know, but it's an interesting abstract idea to think about this for a second. And maybe things that ward off DOMs actually protect us from getting infections. They have more of an immune system modulatory effect that we're overlooking.
It's an interesting theory. Absolutely.
Interesting, because it goes away after a while, right? The more you train, your delayed onset muscle soreness goes away. The body doesn't see this need to sequester and suppress an infection. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this yet. It's just a thought, but it's something that no one has ever discussed before. And from this study here, I don't understand why no one has ever discussed it. Anyway,
it's worth looking into.
All right, so let's see. Let's go ahead and answer Ben Turner Dixon's question. It's live, and then we'll get on to the next. So he says, "Hey guys, I'm following up on a question that was interrupted last show when there was technical issues." Yes, thank you. To repeat, a family member has prostate cancer that doctors expect has spread to neighboring tissue and have put him on androgen blockade therapy to slow the spread. That's a stupid idea. The feed was interrupted right when you agreed SARMs are not a viable option. So let's take it from the beginning. Androgen blockade therapy has been shown not to suppress prostate cancer at all. I know people who have been on ADT, also known as androgen deprivation therapy, whose prostate cancer continued. So it doesn't work. We know that from Dr. Samuel Denmead's research that raising testosterone levels to supraphysiological levels is what kills prostate cancer in the most aggressive cases. So the first thing I would do is I would search for Dr. Samuel Denmead's research on the internet. Just Dr. Samuel Denmead, Denmeade, and the word prostate. That's all you got to do. Pull all of his papers, bring them to the doctor, because the exact opposite of what that doctor is doing is what's going to cure this cancer. Go ahead.
I would tell you that that would be very similar to what I would recommend too. My first thought was, stopping androgen therapy or, killing androgen levels off is probably the worst thing that you could do for it. If I'm not mistaken, the doctor's opinion on this matter, of course, is it's the testosterone. We got to get rid of the testosterone. Testosterone is killing you. That entire theory / approach was predicated on one study with one participant done like back in the 1950s. It's absolutely absurd. Having said that, I would use the same approach, Carl, I think that you are putting forth here, understanding, however, that whoever your doctor is, he is under he or she, incredible institutional pressure not to do this. And that's really sad. because at this point, right, if they're saying it's spread, what does he have to lose at this point? Right? I mean,
I'm looking for research while you're talking. I'm sorry.
yeah, look, this whole notion is also impacted by the politics around testosterone. Testosterone's a steroid bad, do no harm. Why would you want to give someone, this stuff when they've already got cancer? Well, if I'm that person and they're telling me the cancer's already spread, then I'm looking at you, doctor, and saying, what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose? I'm not pulling this out of my backside. Here are the medical studies that I am basing this on. Let's do it. And if you don't do it, I'll find somebody that will. So, that would be my take on the matter.
So hold on. Let me stop the clock because the music is going to start running, and I don't want that to happen yet. I want to finish answering this question. So Dr. Paul Godley came on my show in 2000 and probably 12, and I'm looking for the study. He wrote a paper for the American Cancer Society, and the article was that androgens do not correlate with prostate cancer. And this was a paper that he wrote for the American Cancer Society, telling doctors to abandon the idea that suppressing testosterone was the way to treat cancer. This was back in 12, 13, maybe 14. It's a little blurry to me. I remember his name is Dr. Paul Godley. So find that research on androgens. He said none of them, not DHEA, not DHT, not testosterone, none of them correlated with the incidence of prostate cancer. Yet doctors continue to treat their patients like androgens are the problem.
Right.
Number two, if you find more current information from 2017, 18, 19 on Dr. Samuel Denmead, as I said, you'll find that he's doing research showing that giving men with aggressive prostate cancer testosterone gets rid of the prostate cancer.
Yeah,
So,
it's actually the opposite, right?
Yeah. And so the other problem is that men who undergo androgen deprivation therapy die of other causes. They become full-blown diabetic. They develop weakness in the heart. They usually die of heart failure. They end up with huge amounts of visceral fat. We just talked about the linkage between visceral fat and mortality just the other day. So it's your job as the patient to force the doctor to recognize current science and treat you based on current science, or find a different effing doctor. Okay?
Yep.
Because back in the day, doctors used to give people mercury to get rid of syphilis, but they don't do that anymore, right? Like, think of all the patients that died because of the mercury instead of the syphilis. So you must gather this information. Dr. Paul Godley, American Cancer Society, the Journal of the American Cancer Society, their position. This is their position on androgens and prostate cancer. And Dr. Samuel Denmead, print off every study you can. Have your uncle walk into that doctor's office and say, why are you putting on androgen deprivation therapy when the American Cancer Society said that it's not androgen related, and this doctor's curing aggressive prostate cancer, curing it with testosterone? And if your doctor looks you in the eye and says that's not the standard of care, what he's really saying is, I really don't care about your outcome. I'm just going to continue to do what I've been told, even though it's not in your best interest. That is not a doctor. That's not a doctor. Now,
and let's think about it logically, right? You're going to take something that belongs in the body that's there for a reason. You're going to take it and bring it down to zero. I don't know how many people have had low testosterone levels, but let me tell you, you're gonna wish you were dead. You have no energy. Everything's negative. Everything is a struggle. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, either from a medical perspective based on studies or anecdotal. I mean, think about it. You're going to take something that belongs in the body out of it totally. That's crazy. Sorry.
So what is the age, Coach, that you would say testosterone is the highest in a man?
So from the curves that I've seen, 22,
Okay.
23.
So, and now, how long ago did you and I and others in our community start to recognize that men's testosterone levels are dropping? Decade? At least a decade?
Long time ago.
Okay. So, first of all, the incidence of prostate cancer in 25-year-old men is on the rise. Okay. But it's still only 0.2 cases per 100,000 up to 35 years old. But that's considered on the rise, which means that in the past, it was less than 0.2 cases per 100,000. So isn't it logical to say, well, if androgens cause prostate cancer, every 25-year-old guy should be at risk of prostate cancer when his androgen levels are raging?
Right.
Right? Okay. Now, androgen levels are dropping in young men. Even the labs have dropped the bottom of the assay down to almost 300, which
Twice.
women are in the 200s, right?
Yeah.
So, and now all of a sudden, prostate cancer rates in young men are on the rise, but still minuscule. It doesn't make sense that doctors are treating prostate cancer by wiping out testosterone. It doesn't. And they're going to keep doing it unless you're one of the smart patients that pushes back.
Yeah.
You are going to go down. I know a guy at my gym who was put on ADT. He doesn't look anything like he did just 5 years ago. He's got a big belly. He shuffles through the gym. He looks exhausted all the time. And we talked about it. I brought those studies in from Denmead to him and said, give these to your doctor. He never did it because he doesn't want to take a chance in pissing his doctor off. His doctor is killing him. Piss him off. Piss him off.
And if I could make one last point relative to this, never forget the doctor works for you. You are paying the doctor. It's not the other way around. A lot of people still have that mentality. The doctor works for you. Make him work.
We're going to get back on track with other questions, and feel free to ask questions. We'll get to them as quickly as possible. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. You've heard me talk about the chill pill on the show and how effective it is at helping people who suffer from social anxiety, or sometimes when you just want to take the edge off to a long, stressful day. Well, listen to this story from Dylan Goutreau.
Definitely takes anxiety away, which I have a long history of having. Started out at 2 milligrams a day of Xanax. That was at 8 years old. And so I stopped using benzos 3 years ago. Extremely difficult. Yeah, so I spent about 3 years trying to find anything and everything I could that would be healthy for me to help with anxiety. Because I'm talking, full out panic attack. The chill pill was the first thing that I found that actually in the middle of a panic attack I can take, and it definitely subsides.
Go to drseeds.com. That's DRSEEDS.com. Use coupon code SHR and save 20% off your first bottle of the chill pill. Check it out. I promise this is one supplement that delivers.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman.
Among the easiest and most popular ways to experience the life-altering benefits of hemp, Planet Earth CBD soft gels offer fast-acting effects as they release quickly. Made in a GMP-compliant, US FDA-registered facility, you can count on Planet Earth safe soft gels. These soft gels provide temporary relief from pain and so much more. Manufactured with the calming combination of chamomile and melatonin, you got yourself a long-needed CBD solution. 25 milligrams of nano-emulsified hemp extract per serving with anti-inflammatory agency. Planet Earth sleep-supporting soft gels will have you forgetting about today's worries for a better tomorrow. Unwind with Planet Earth CBD today.
Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the healthier alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. Their sugar-free biltong is seasoned and then air-dried for up to 2 weeks, providing you with one of the most tender and flavorful meat snacks that you've ever had. They also use a fattier cut of beef, which adds to the tenderness and gives their biltong even better flavor. Select Savory Snacks Original Biltong is the perfect snack or travel companion for your busy life. Get a free meat snack sample pack with every order of $75 or more. Get yours today at selectsavory.snacks.com/SHR. Use code SHR free.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to the BluePrint Power Hour here on the Superhuman Radio Network. The longest running health and fitness podcast in the world. How do you like that? Huh? Awesome. I want to do it for at least another 10 years, and then I'll find somebody to take over for me. Hey, if you think you can host this show, email me at onair@superhumanradio.net. Seriously, if you think you can host this show, then you may be able to help me get some time away from the microphone in the upcoming months. So there you go. I'll put you on the air. Tom McGee says, I want to grow my calves, but nothing's working. I read an article recently which said they won't grow anyway, no matter what I do. On the other hand, my friend says he put 2 inches on his calves from prioritizing them first in his training. Who's right?
Well, when it comes to calves, there's an element of truth in everything that you just heard, with the exception of one part, which I'll get to. So first off, it's probably fair to say that of all muscle groups, calves respond the least to training. Very, very difficult. You hear the term stubborn calves all the time. You know, compared to a muscle group like the neck, which you don't have to train much, it just takes off. It can be frustrating. So, but it's also fair to say, if you pick the right parents, you probably won't have to worry much about training your calves very hard, you know? Uh-huh. Now, if you did not get good calf from your parents, then your calf development will probably be limited to where, at least where the muscle, let's say, balls up when it's flexed. So
the gastroc.
If you have high calves, your ability to hypertrophy them and what lies beneath them and the soleus will be negligible versus someone whose calves attach much closer to the ankle. I'll tell you what I don't agree with, though. I absolutely positively do not subscribe to the notion that they won't respond at all to training, so don't bother training. That's ridiculous. I think it's far more accurate to say they need a special training stimulus versus less stubborn muscle groups. So what does that mean? It means you have to, in some cases, build up to extreme poundages and look for unorthodox methods to get them to grow. So I would also tell you that one of maybe the best way to get bigger calves is just to build a bigger you. You know, they're going to be your calves are going to be much bigger carrying around 250 pounds than 150. And you need only look at obese people, right, to see this truth. They have monster calves, almost without exception. When I started training, my calves measured 13 inches around at their biggest point. I was so skinny, I wore sweatpants in the summer. I started training them like everyone else, and nothing happened. I was like, what's this? Come on, I'm working hard. I did note that as my squats and deadlifts went up, though, my calves got better too. And that, again, is likely due to my increased body weight. But I also got them to grow another 3.5 to 4 inches with the following methods. Very heavy static holds, both seated and standing, have been dynamite as a calf developer for me. So you want to load that sucker up with as much weight as you can handle in the fully contracted position, and perform two or three such holds for about 5 seconds at a time. I do that for 3 weeks, and then I would work with longer hold times for another 3 weeks, let's say up to 30 seconds, and then back to 5 with a corresponding heavier weight. I would also tell you that Katsu training, aka occlusion training, if there's one method that pairs well with the calves, it's probably that one. I mean, you have to bring every gun that you have out to the calf training table. And I'd also tell you that strength shoes, the kind where the platform is under the ball of your foot, also known as jump soles that basketball players will wear, those were extremely effective for me. Part of the reason why is when you run in them, every step you take transfers 9 times your body weight roughly onto your calf muscle. Okay. Now, I would also tell you, so that's an extreme stress, right? I mean, they're either got to grow or snap off. But relative to the snap off point, go easy with them at first. And when I say easy, I mean, don't run at them even for like 5 or 10 minutes like I did the first time I got them.
Yeah, you're crippled.
I called in sick the next 2 or 3 days to work because I couldn't walk. The only way I could walk was to put all the pressure on my heel with my toes off the ground, and that's going to look kind of funny, even in an insurance office, right? So go easy, walk with them for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, build up to half an hour, and then try running in them for, let's say, 5 minutes, just to make sure you don't do any damage to your Achilles tendon. Some people are prone to that. Thankfully, I wasn't. But those are the methods, those are the extreme methods that worked for me. And the bottom line here is, if you weren't born with them, then you need to do these types of extreme things, in my opinion, intensification techniques to get your calves to grow. Regular calf raises or whatever else you see in the gym, it's just not going to cut it. At least it didn't, again, for me. So work hard, work heavy. Don't be afraid to do it frequently either. Your calves carry you around all day, every day. So they're used to a lot of work, and they need a lot of work to get bigger. Simple.
So this is someone at my gym at the LAC, Joe Mogilani. I think also a personal trainer there, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And the question is, are there any peptides for focus? Also pregnenolone. So pregnenolone works both ways. It can make people focused or it can make people sleepy. That's something you have to experiment with. Take it with a fatty meal. And I recommend, if you're going to take pregnenolone, to take DHEA as well, so less of it converts to DHEA and remains pregnenolone. But you can experiment with that. As far as peptides for focus, dihexa is not a peptide per se, but that's been used for focus. It's transdermal. You put it on your neck. It's actually an angiotensin 7 enzyme, and it really works. I mean, I've used as much as 50 milligrams in one dose, and it feels like the lights went on. Like it's really working. It's hard to get. You have to get it by prescription. It's fairly expensive. I don't know that that's what you're looking for. As far as peptides for focus goes, I think any of the peptides that work to improve the brain will improve focus. And that's like FGLL, even oh God, maybe I should take a couple of these peptides today. The other one that comes to mind is Penelon, Epitalon. Those have been used for focus, but I don't think people really get the value. When people talk about focus, being hyper-focused makes you kind of stare at things, stare off, like really being focused. So I think what people really want when they say, are there peptides for focus, they really mean alertness. They want to feel alert. They want to feel mental energy. They want to feel some of these peptides that we talk about that improve brain function, they don't make you more mentally alert, at least not overnight, at least not right after a shot. The thing that I like the best, and I use it pretty much every morning now that the sun is starting to go away, and that is just 50 micrograms of melanotan 2. I make it into an intranasal delivery myself. If you want to learn how, go to superhumanradio.net, go all the way to the bottom of the page, and there's a video on how to make your own melanotan 2 intranasal. I find that gives me that alert feeling right after I use it, and it lasts quite a few hours. You will improve your tan, but you won't get as dark as if you were injecting it. I'm this dark because I literally lay in the sun almost daily. My arms are the darkest because I ride my motorcycle everywhere, and from here down, I am so dark, it's unbelievable. But if I was going to say a peptide that actually improves alertness, which I really think people mean when they say main focus, because I've used microdosed LSD at fairly high doses, and it makes you very focused. And what happens when you focus is like you just stare, like nothing breaks your attention. You just stare. So if you're looking for something to make you alert, dihexa, if you can get it, and then of course give melanotan 2 intranasal a shot. And then also, yes, I heard about Rick Drayson passing away. Very, very sad. Does anybody know how old he was? Was he in his 70s?
He was up there.
So Dave Hartnett says pyracetam does nothing for me.
He'd be much better off with phenylparacetam if he wants to go that route.
But it does nothing for me. In fact, we have a stack now that's going to start getting promoted on the show. It's 4 nootropics together that absolutely works. And you can get it at purenootropic.com, which is a sponsor of ours. So Dan Kapitsky and I have experimented with 4 different nootropics, and we found the perfect blend that give you mental energy. They make you more alert without giving you the jitters of caffeine and stuff like that. And we'll be doing a show about that here probably within the next week or so. Injectable glutathione burned like heck. Is liposomal glutathione a decent alternative? It's better than injectable. Liposomal glutathione is more effective at getting into the cells intact without undergoing oxidative stress. So yes. So it looks like he was 76 years old. Yep, it's unanimous. 76 years old. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. He's a great guy, intelligent, respectful, always had good things to say about people. So he will be missed. There's no doubt about it. Let's go. Let's see, what time is it? Let's do this. Let's take our last commercial break now. And when we come back, we have another question, and then we have the blueprint tip of the day. How's that sound?
Cool. Got it.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Did you know that your gut is referred to as your second brain? In fact, at least 90% of your serotonin, your happiness chemical, is created in your gut. If you don't take care of your gut, you won't feel good, period. Bioptimizers recently released Cognibiotics, a new breakthrough probiotic formula that is clinically proven to enhance your brain function, your mood, and overall mental health. Most probiotics often include conflicting strains or quantities and can cancel each other out. Cognibiotics delivers the exact strain you need in exactly the right ratios and quantities. With a 365-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, you can try them out for yourself to start feeling the incredible difference Cognibiotics makes in your mood, mind, and performance. For an exclusive offer to my listeners, go to cognibiotics.com/SHR. That's COGNIBIOTICS.com/SHR and use code SHR10.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Unlock your potential with the best cognitive enhancement and anti-aging supplements on the market. PureNootropics.net goes the extra mile for the highest quality ingredients, third-party tested to make sure you only receive the best your money can buy. There's no better choice with their money-back guarantee and free shipping. Try their best-selling DHM. Dihydromyricetin prevents hangovers and helps deliver detox after a night of drinking. Get your DHM and other nootropics and longevity supplements from PureNootropics.net, the purest supplements around.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Has Superhuman Radio helped you in any way? Maybe it helps you pass the time. Maybe you think I'm a goofball and you enjoy a good laugh. What I need people to do is to take their iPhone or their smartphone, point it at themselves, and do a 60-second, 30-second, no more than 3-minute brief video about how the show has helped you, hurt you. I want criticism too. If you think I'm a goof, I get people who always tell me I pronounce words wrong, Rob. I don't. The favorite one that people say is I don't pronounce rapamycin. It's rapamycin, and I say rapamycin. So that's the critical thing that people have to pick on with me, that I mispronounce.
You're doing pretty good if that's the worst thing.
You know what? If you think I'm a dork, then do a brief video and say, I listen to you, but I hate the way you pronounce this word, or because we want to produce a montage, and we're getting people who are sending them in, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it. So if the show has impacted your life in any way, if you've gotten a piece of information that's helped you or a family member, or you think I'm a jerk, or I'm too opinionated, or whatever it is, just take a brief video and upload it. Go to shrnetwork.biz/yourstory, shrnetwork.biz/yourstory, and upload it there. And we'll use it. And I don't care if you'd say I'm ugly and my mother dresses me funny. We'll use it. I promise you. So there you go. All right. So the next question comes from Tom Burke. He says, I'm almost 50 now, but I still train. No injuries, fortunately. Good for you. And I want to stay healthy and active. I've lifted heavy my entire life, but realize I can't do it anymore. What's the best way to downshift? Should he even downshift, coach?
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a rant about expectations. The best way isn't to downshift at all. It's actually to go on offense and go in the other direction. So, it sounds like Tom Harry's lifted heavy his whole life and he has no injuries. So what he has been doing has obviously treated him well.
Good point.
So he wants to downshift now. Why? Just because he hit 50? If anything, he needs to keep lifting heavy and preferably keep adding weight wherever he can to get bigger and stronger. Let me tell you a little secret. If you hit age 50 and you expect to be weaker and smaller than you were at age 30, you will be. If, however, you hit 50 and you expect to be as strong or stronger than you were when you were 30, you will be. Doubly so if you have no injuries. If you're not, then either your training or your nutrition or your rest is off, one of those three. Now, it is true you can't lift heavy forever. But why invite forever in before it's time, right? Why not address forever when you get there? Instead of prematurely ending what until now, by all accounts, has been a fantastic training career. Now, sure, I might recommend some changes, like dialing body weight stuff up, right, as you age. So if he's following my rule of thumb on that issue, he'd be performing roughly 50% body weight moves and 50% with the weights. Handstand push-ups, with a weight vest for 1 to 3 reps is still plenty heavy, but it carries with it an injury risk, which is much, much less than lots of the standing overhead stuff that I see being done anyway in the gym. Weighted chin-ups and dips, those are two of the finest exercises you can perform. They blow pull downs and bench presses out of the water, in my opinion. Now, if your back is still in good shape, why not still deadlift? Trade your straight bar in maybe for a trap bar, but still deadlift. It gets you to the same place, lots of muscle, right? Using a big compound lift that works more muscle than any other lift I can think of, and has a fraction of the injury risk. The fact of the matter is, using this approach, Tom might fail on a couple, on some counts. Let me show you, though, how he still wins. He's shooting for the stars. Even if he doesn't reach them and he hits the moon, let's say, and 2 big lifts continue to go up out of 5. If even one of those 2 happens to be the trap bar deadlift, he wins and wins big. Why? There isn't a muscle in his body that doesn't get worked and consequently stronger with that movement. Even if it's 2 lesser movements, what I'll call lesser movements, it's still progress. And what does progress do? It motivates anyone to get to the gym and to keep going. And hopefully it motivates him to explore other strategies, right, on his stalled lifts. Because just because you hit a plateau doesn't mean you give up. That's where experience comes into play. And you got a bag of tricks like I do of dozens and dozens of methods to get you unstuck. But even if they do get stuck for long periods of time, those stalled lifts are almost certainly miles better than the 50-year-olds who have downshifted. Okay? So in summary, never downshift in the weight room unless you absolutely have to. Let's say, if you have an injury. They call this progressive resistance training for a reason. Not regressive training, not maintenance training, progressive resistance training. Live it, breathe it, love it. Do it as long as you can. And if and when you can do it no longer, we'll talk about what to do then.
So go find my show. The show number is 2221. It's an episode of Old Man Strong featuring Marvin Mann. And the picture you'll see of Marvin, I want to say Marvin was 60. I think Marvin is around the same age as me. So I'm 62 now. He stopped competing in his 50s, but he's still out there. Marvin has got 745 pounds on the bar. He's deep in the hole in the squat, and he's pushing it out. This is just a regular training session for him. If you listen to the show, what you'll find out is this, that the older you get, you can still do this stuff, but there's a lot more that has to be done. You've got to get everything right. You've got to sleep right. You've got to eat right. You've got to do all the right things 100% of the time. When you're young, you can do, the younger you are, the less you can do, you have to do right. But once you start getting older, everything has to be done right. Listen to Marvin's interview. I mean, the picture on show 2221 is impressive. When you look at it, you're going to go, holy crap. This guy is in his 60s. But there are people out there who don't, look, I was probably my strongest up through when I was 57 years old. But then injuries, foot injury. I tore a tricep muscle, blah, blah, blah. So the reality is that I'm going to attempt to get that strong again. I'm not done yet. I'm just trying to figure my way back into this slowly. But I know that once I start to move in this direction, I'm going to be a less fun person to be around, probably because I'm going to be militant about getting to sleep at 9 o'clock every night, which we do anyway. Elisa lives the same life. The beauty of being with Elisa is that she wants and believes the same things I do. So she's all about, getting to sleep early, getting to the gym, staying active, all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to do with her than I would with just some average woman. But the reality is that, I mean, there are lots of guys that are pretty past their prime and in their 60s that are still pulling 600 pounds off the ground. They're not doing it every single day. Maybe they're not even doing it every week, but they're still doing it. So I don't think that we have to, let's see, we have a question here. Where's the website I can go for nootropics? Can someone post a link? Yes, I'm going to put the link up here. While Rob is doing the blueprint tip of the day, I will post the link. Stay here. So the reality is that you can still get strong. You just may have to flip more switches to get there. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
The tip of the day has to do with the lost art of tapering. So there's a very powerful training technique that I almost never see being used or discussed. It's called tapering. And whether you call it hyperacceleration, hyperadaptation, accumulation, intensification, or planned overreaching, it's essentially the same. You strategically ramp up your training workload, right to the edge of overtraining, and then you pull back to allow the body to supercompensate. I have made some of the most dramatic strength gains of my life using that technique. And if you study the greats in the strength game, you'll see it in their workouts. Almost all of them at one time or another used it. But bottom line, there is a mechanism inside of you capable of great gains that you need to understand how to unlock. Believe it or not, I discovered this by accident. I was young and stupid, and at the time I was training virtually every day. And then my grandfather was hospitalized with a heart condition, and this had been kind of kept from me. I was still very young, right? So in my mind, he was damn near indestructible. So I was ready to go visit him when they got word to me that he was allowed to see, he was now allowed to see family. What I wasn't ready for was seeing the name Regish on his wristband. And now that may sound odd, but it hit me, like a ton of bricks. I didn't train for a week, maybe two. Probably the first week off I had in at least a year. And to my amazement, when I returned to the gym, I absolutely crushed it. I knew something positive had to be going on because I didn't hurt anymore. Not hurt, but the kind of banged up feeling you get when you overtrain, that kind of hurt. That was gone. And from the second I started that workout until the second I put the last weight down, I was crushing it, man. I banged out some of the best, strongest sets I ever did. I still couldn't figure it out though, because in my mind, a week off was a bad thing, right? I mean, that was my mental reference point. It finally dawned on me what happened after I had a chance conversation with a gym regular, an old timer. And so I explained to him what happened, and he just kind of looked at me and he shrugged his shoulders and he said, "You tapered." And I was like, "Tapered? What's this business about tapering?" The next time I heard about the concept was a year later, and I had ordered and read Leo Costa's Big Beyond Belief. Or it might have been, no, it was Big Beyond Belief. He referred to it as hyperacceleration and hyperadaptation, but more importantly, he taught you not just one way, but a variety of ways to make it happen. And so there it was laid out for me in black and white, plain as day. And I was fascinated with it for one simple reason: the results. Never had I experienced such a command of the weights that I had only dreamed about before as I did when I used those tapers. And when I say command of the weights, you know what I'm talking about. It's like I could stop this at any point in the range of motion, hold it for 5 seconds, and still have the gas to complete the rest of it. It was that kind of strength. So now Leo had a slightly more, hypertrophy spin on it, understandably so, because his book was about bodybuilding, but the lesson stuck. And I started experimenting with other systems like that to learn their nuances. Now, ultimately, I combined the best elements, I think, of Leo's system, Charles Staley, Charles Poliquin, Dan Duchesne. I combined all of those into my own, which today is known by some people anyway as BluePrint's Famine and Feast phases. And the thing that makes them unique is that they make use of not just the loading and the unloading with the weights, but also the macronutrient and calorie twist that essentially make it a turbo taper. That's what probably what I should have called it. It's a little catchier. Whether it's my system or someone else's, though, I want you to ask yourself this question: who's using it in your gym? Because you don't have to look around much to find the answer. Almost nobody. A few people, right, have heard of it and have a general idea of what it is, or what you're talking about, but few really understand it, and fewer still have even tried it. And that's a real crime, in my opinion, because done right, it's just about the most powerful training technique that you can use. I mean, think about it. You're using your body's own physiology to slingshot itself to huge gains, which is free, by the way. And you can do it over and over. Now, some people I've spoken to, they wonder if it's something that'll work for them. To which I can only say, after coaching a lot of people through it, if you're a healthy human being, this mechanism works. It's already inside you, male or female. You just need to do it properly. It's yours for the asking. And I highly suggest you do the asking. So I just wanted to bring tapering up one more time because of what a fantastic way to train that it is. It's exceptionally high success rate. And also its simplicity. It's not difficult either to conceptualize or execute as a training strategy. It's just people have a big problem with phase 2, which is pulling back. I don't want to only go to the gym once or twice this week. Well, then the system isn't going to work. But I can guarantee you that if you do it right, the first time you use it will certainly not be your last. And if you are just hearing about this now, get on it. Because I guarantee you, after a little trial and error, this will be your go-to training method in the future. And you'll have a bright future if you use it.
So few people realize that all of the growth happens outside of the gym.
Right.
I mean, and I know people know that, like they know that, but they know it, but they don't, for some reason, believe it. And like I think that people think, well, there's this curve, like okay, I trained. There's this trajectory of growth, and that if I don't get back in there quickly, and doesn't work like that. If you take 3 days off instead of 2, your body will continue to grow for those 3 days. It's not like as though it only grew for the first 2, and if you don't get in there on the 3rd to start that cycle again, no, it's not how it works. I know power lifters that trained 1 day a week. Now, granted, they had a specialty. I had a friend that's all he did was bench press.
Right.
He only bench pressed once a week. He had a 700-pound bench press.
Oh, Jesus.
So but he came in on Sundays, and why? Well, he had to make some life decisions. He was an executive. He had a family. He could take Sunday to himself. And he believed that if he trained, and he was at the gym for 5 hours on Sunday. He was there for 5 hours. But he believed, this was Jeff Rui's Powerhouse Gym. He believed that if he did the work on Sunday the right way, he would need that entire week to recover. And the guy had a 700-pound bench press. So he obviously, it worked, right? That's why I laugh when people say, oh, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday. Your body doesn't know it's Monday. It doesn't know it's Tuesday. It doesn't know any of that sort of stuff. You know, some people train once a week and they see great results.
Like I said before in my answer, the optimal training frequency is the one where you can recognize consistent strength increases from workout to workout. Period. End of story. If that's once a week, it's once a week. If it's once a month, it's once a month. Do it.
No, I agree. Great show today. I think we really knocked it out of the park. Again, I've had people send in videos where they talked about the Blueprint Power Hour being their favorite show, right? I sent that copy to you.
That was nice. Thank you for sharing that with me.
If you are a fan of this show, if you're a fan of the Blueprint Power Hour, if you're a fan of the Pep Talk, if you're a fan of Superhuman Radio in general, I'm asking you to help me out. And if you think I suck, I really want to hear from you. If you just take like a 60-second quick video, but no longer than 3 minutes, please, with your phone, just do it right now, right after the show. Just point at yourself and say, Carl, you suck. I can't stand listening to you, but you're such a train wreck. I have to tune in every single week.
I can't wait to see that.
No, I may do that one myself. Send it to, and then upload it at shrnetwork.biz/yourstory. And we will use it. I promise you, we will use it. That's it for today. You got anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we'll see you next week, and we'll see about it tomorrow. We have some really good shows. I don't know what they are. I should really know what they are. We're trying to create a calendar. The website is going to undergo some changes, so people will be able to see shows ahead of time. But that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Please share the show. Please share the show. That's all I keep saying. Share the show. All right. See you soon.